Welcome to Counterspell Cube, the place where all spells are canceled and all cubes are countered. This is your host, Anthony Adams, the host of UberCube, and I've got my other two lovely hosts sitting here.
It's me. It's May.
I'm glad she spoke first. She's definitely prettier when I said lovely.
Yes.
I knew the other one was going to speak up. We had to time that correctly.
It would be weird. You keep calling me the words like that.
Well, there's one pretty one. I want to make you feel included.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, out of our group, we brought a pretty one. Thank you, May, for joining us. There you go.
Oh, my goodness.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year.
Hey, so we've got another fun one here. We're going to kind of do the back to the basics, fundamentals type idea. We've gotten away from doing these ideas. We went into some advanced theory. We've talked about how feelings and vibes and feedback. We've done all these things, but I've had in my list forever. I wanted to talk about counterspells, not ranking them, not putting them my five favorite.
We should do that.
We can kind of rank them, but I'm not personally interested in ranking counterspells. I just want to talk about what they are and where they apply and what environments that we can apply them to.
Okay, they counter spells on the stack. All right, you ready for the ranking? Let's go.
Well,
Number one, Force of Will.
Number two,
Mana Drain.
Mana Tithe, your Force of Will.
Mana Tithe is probably top 5.
Number three,
Spell Pierce.
I Pyroblast, your Spell Pierce.
Pyroblast is right up there as well.
Yeah.
Love Pyroblast.
Keep going.
Force of Negation.
Flare of Denial, I have a blue creature, too late.
Miscalc.
Mystic Confluence?
Mystic Confluence, yeah, that's a really good one.
Or
that's
my
really
favorite that PK shat all over, Cryptic Command.
I can't believe
the one they had.
had...
Well, he shat on it, but also they had the audacity, Wizards of the Coast, to make that one into a full art, no words foil, which was mind blowing. I remember that was almost like a test. So I'm going to ask you both right now because I don't know. What does Cryptic Command do? I'll let you two talk it out. No cheating, no internet.
It's 3 blue and a colorless. Okay, so it has counter target spell, draw a card, tap all creatures. Is it target player or your opponent's control? Target player controls?
I'm pretty sure it's target player.
I think it's target player. Tap all creatures target player controls, draw a card, counter a spell. There's one more, isn't there?
Usually
Return target permanent to its owner's hand.
I think that's it. Was it choose 2?
Choose 2.
It's not choose 3. Like
it's choose 2.
The confluences are the
correct.
The choose 3.
Yeah.
This is choose 2 for the commands. Yeah, I think we got it right. We can fact check that right now.
Let's check my work. Let's see. Counter target spell, return target permanent to its hand, tap all creatures your opponent's control, draw a card.
Okay. Yeah.
Well done, man.
Yeah, that's pretty fun. It's pretty fun. The reason why I wrote this episode is we had PK on recently, and we love you, PK. We had him on here chatting some cube. It was really fun. In the middle of it, I just kind of let it slide because we're in the heat of the moment, and he said, Cryptic Command is no longer playable in any cube environments. You would struggle to include it. Now, I remember just kind of getting hung up on that. I'm like, not going to interrupt. I'm not going to say nothing. I'm over there like, my ears are boiling, PK, and I'm like, God, I want to say something. I'm still running it in my Power Vintage Cube, and I'm definitely...
really rough.
Yeah, it was really rough. Like it got me good. And also...
Really rough.
I was like, that's a good hot take, PK. And then it's also running in my horror cube. I believe that's about where I keep it at. And I do agree. We're not going to focus on Cryptic Command. I thought that was a neat exercise. If the listeners could actually beat Stu, let us know if you heard that little weird timestamp. But we wanted to talk about the idea of counter magic as not only the fact that what it does, counter spells on the stack, but about its thematic possibilities, right? We have a lot of them in our different environments. Between the three of us talking right now, we've got a lot of cubes. And in our group, we've probably got 30-something cubes, right? And again, not to reflect upon another episode, but like the Wraths, we have this huge cornucopia of counter magic of all types and all varieties that we can choose and cherry pick that best fits what we want to see in our environments, which I think is really neat. But before we go any further, we're going to have our libations of the show. Let's start out with the lovely May. What are you having today?
I'm having a Field Day Brewing Co. Girl Talk Smoothie Sour. It's once again with blueberry, raspberry, and lemon.
Nom, nom, nom.
Stu and I are twinsies. What are we having?
I'm not going to lie. There's two things that will lead me down a path of buying a particular type of beer, right? One of them is it on sale? And the second one is, how good does it taste? This has been on sale at my local Lowe's Foods for, I don't know, seems like a long time now. So I'm slamming it every time I go over there.
There's also a creepy looking druid with like deer antlers that's completely shadowed out. That is not a bear with
bear.
That bear's got antlers,
It's
my
a
dude.
bear. All right, so let's
Before
talk
we
about
continue,
cryptic.
though, I actually do want to add on to the best counter spells of all time.
Okay.
Force of Negation, Force of Will, and Forbid are my top 3 of the best of all time.
Forbid.
Ooh,
Really?
that's spicy. I love Forbid.
Forbid's a spicy choice, but like
Forbid is
counterpoint.
miserable.
This is basically, I'm going to draw a bunch of cards, and then I'm going to keep countering your stuff, the card.
Yeah, buyback. Buyback is such a fun mechanic. It's people enjoy it. Like capsize, it's really fun to be on the other side of a capsize. Like what's happening?
Yeah.
Buyback, bounce your stuff, buyback, bounce your land, bounce that too. Like, oh my god, buyback. Awesome.
Well, we talked a bit about Commander in the last episode, the last recording that we did, and I will say that the last time I played Commander, I have a Mizzix of the Ismagnus like Storm deck. Maybe not as much Storm, but it's a combo deck, and I have buyback cards in there. And let me just tell you, when you've got like 5-6 experience counters, and you've got Mizzix out, and all of your stuff costs like 1 mana, and the buyback is like auto, and you can just like end of turn. I'm just gonna. Yeah. We're done. You don't want me to just bounce everything on the board? But, okay. Shuffle up. We're on to the next one.
Yeah, next.
But yeah, that's a feel bad, and people don't like it, and people don't like counter magic as well. So let's start out with.
It's a generic question. No, let's don't even do feels. Let's do a generic question. This is for the listeners and for us. We're gonna do this together. We're gonna talk blue exclusive right now. We're gonna do the Pyroblast and the Manitize. We're gonna kind of push them to the side a little bit. Generically speaking, well, you can put them in there if you want to.
Nobody
Generically
ever expects
speaking,
the Manitide, though.
in the framework of your cube, how many do you feel? Let's do 360 as a number. How many counter spells would you expect to see in a blue section of a cube that's 360 in your mind? What's the number you're kind of expecting for blue's identity? Which I have a follow up for that.
10.
10.
I'll go with 10.
10.
About that.
I'm actually going to say maybe. Okay, hang on. Let me think about this for a second.
Maybe more.
Let me digest the question.
Maybe
first.
more.
Because I have a few different environments that are pretty counterspell dense. I really like counterspells for the amount of interaction that they have. However, trying to put like the number on how many counterspells I actually run is actually hard offhand. If I were to guess, I run somewhere between 10 and 15 counterspells.
Yeah.
Just if I were to throw out a random number, I don't know if it's correct, but somewhere between there.
I think that's a little dense in my. This is where it gets interesting. I generally run 5 to 6 at 360, and because my follow-up question is, and this is for the listeners too. Do you feel that blue's overarching identity is counter magic? Is that what defines blue? Outside of all the things you know about blue, is that what you generically latch onto as the defining factor of what blue does?
So I actually run a lot less than I expected. I run 7. I just counted.
Okay. No, I think that would be not giving blue in general anywhere near enough credit to just say that blue's identity is counter magic, because you couldn't do that, I don't think, for any other color. So I don't think it would be fair to do that.
How about counter draw, if I say that?
I think countering spells and drawing cards are two of the main elements that blue excels at. Yes, I would agree with that, but I still think it does more.
I say this because if I look at my environments, any of them, I can go through the whole swath of them, and I will see that they're not creature rich. They are counter and draw rich, right? And we're not talking about draw during this episode. But if I had to define it, even like a Venser type spell, right? That I will see it really, opposed to the other ones, I'll look at my creature counts. If I pull up my tables on Cube Cobra, right, and I look at all the other ones, it'll be like, well, you got 30 of these creatures and 30 of these creatures and you got 11 of these creatures in blue, right? It's not a creature-centric environment. It does lean very much into the idea of canceling, right? Or countering, canceling, whatever. And that's kind of why these are so important, and the slot equity at which you choose them and the ones you choose for your environment to include thematics or cost or where you land at on the mana value spectrum, for example, right? Or whether or not it's
Blue's
specialized.
identity is interaction.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's not always counterspell. And I think that that's the best way to put it. Where it's counterspells have a very important role and identity in terms of like the removal in blue, but it is not the only thing that blue does.
Yes.
It's just usually things are on the stack. The blue player is desperately scratching on their skin in order to figure out what they can do and interact with it. So
yeah.
All right, another question. I enjoy the kind of the questions.
Permission.
I like how you guys come to it together as a team. I enjoy that. So kind of like when we talked about RAS, which would have been a previous episode, do you feel like on-theme counterspells can be used to like reward the player, the little carrots, the nuggets, to see what you're trying to do, your vision? Whether or not they cost more or cost less, can you specifically choose them to help them see what your design is trying to, the feelings you're trying to invoke of the player?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yes.
Expound.
So the way that I use my counterspells in my environment, and this is why it was hard for me to kind of like guess offhand, is that for a lot of people who run counterspells and whatnot, we also like them tagged onto creatures. We like them tagged onto additional things. We like them to be like versatile. We like them to be not just sitting in our hands waiting to interact. We want them to be able to do other things. And big part of like rewarding somebody for being in this specific section is making it feel like that they're getting like a certain payoff. For example, you currently have Spellstutter Sprite on the page, and it's easily one of my favorite kind of counterspells because it's just, this is efficient. It's a flying creature. It rewards you for being in fairies. It answers a bunch of the early like removal or whatever that's going on in the game, and you can repeatably do it. And that's how you turn just a counterspell into a control deck, is that either being able to sit back and generate card advantage, or being able to repeatedly always have an answer, or always feeling like that you have things to do with that mana feels good, especially when it's rewarding you for that theme. Spellstutter Sprite in particular says when it comes into play, counter target spell where the mana value of that spell is cost X or less, where X is the number of fairies you control. It is very strongly in the boat of you are caring about fairies, you are caring about maybe changelings, but for the most part, you're caring about fairies. At the end of the day, you only have like a few things that you can counter at one. But if you are in that lane, it rewards you for being in that lane. The reward is there. It's really good. And sometimes there's just counter spells in other environments, not the fake cube, that take advantage of like one of my favorite counter spells, Glenelendra Archmage, right? Where you had this 4-mana 2/2 flyer with persist, which means that it gets to come back and do it again. You can pay 1 blue in order to sacrifice it and counter target non-creature spell. And then you could just do that again. Being able to just answer multiple things is what makes you the control player. It rewards you for being in the thing, and especially if you have a way to take advantage of the persist, right? There are so many cool things that you can do with counterspells beyond this is the thing that does the role.
Right. So like Hypnotic Sprite's another example that I was going to cite. When I started looking at the Fey Cube in particular, I've got all my cubes and I follow thematic ideas, but it's hard to get them to... My spells don't fit as well to my genres. In some cases they do. Like the Artifact Cube, I can get like, I don't know, was it like Scatter Ray and these type cards. I do get ones that give me payoffs, specifically say the word Artifact or Annul or whatnot. But I felt like the Fey Cube definitely had more of a vibe where your specific counter magic was very Lauren-esque and leaned to that idea. And they do give rewards for playing into these type creatures, like you said, fairies, which is... in the same vein that we talked about with our RAS, it's really cool when our counter magic doesn't just counter the spell, but also leaves behind some residual threat. Kind of like you talked about in a previous episode about this board wipe that also has a giant tacked onto it. I like this type of counter magic, and I would encourage players, the creature on the stick. I'm not talking about like Mystic Snake is one of my all-time favorite magic cards. Shout out to Stephen Conefall, right? We love Mystic Snake. It's really good, but it is a 2/2 at the end of the day. I do like it when you have this tacked on fairy that has evasion on it. That is so cool.
Okay. I think that counter magic we'll talk about blue in this one. I'm sure you mentioned that you felt like doing a little bit of a series on these, right? So we've talked about wraths in the past. We can talk about some of these kind of pillar-ish kind of elements of Magic, right? Where especially the interactive elements where, like I say, I don't think that counter is the identity of blue, but I think it's a massively important thing that blue does. One of the things, and again, I want to really reiterate and highlight what May said, is that the ability that it gives you, and you kind of led into it, the ability that it gives you, not as a sole way to be able to do this, but just in addition to be able to increase the flavor and really introduce themes and archetypes and typal options and all this kind of stuff is to be honest, is one of the things that I love about Magic so much, is that during every portion of the design process, through the draft and through the gameplay, it introduces a number of decisions and a process that is so enriching and can be so rewarding. Like you say, if you see a card like Spellstutter Sprite, you are expecting, right, and I'm certainly hoping that, right, I get to run a fun typal deck. I've got options as far as the cards. It introduces some level of tension for myself during the drafting process and also through the gameplay process, because now I'm thinking, right, is someone else in fairies? Has someone got a banger that I'm just hoping that I can draft, but someone else has already got it? And maybe some of these fairy cards that I would hope would be kind of an open lane for me, but maybe they're not. So when the option comes around to take a card that would be really, really good in that fairy deck, but there's also another card that can be maybe on itself be a little bit stronger, but my gosh, the reward for taking that typal card or that card that's supported in that archetype is just astronomical. That's where some of that tension can be. So I love that about the interactive elements of Magic, period. So one of the things that I think the counter Magic has represented for me over the years, and I will say that I don't know if it's the same for everyone else, but certainly for me, I kind of went through what I understand has been kind of an organic way of coming into Magic. You start out, okay, look, there's these creatures, you can turn them sideways, you can win games, and then as time goes on, you start introducing yourself to the more advanced, the more, dare I say it, the more interactive, right? The more interactive ways of playing, because it's much easier game to play where you're just putting your lands down, turning them, putting creatures down and turning them. But the decision making and the gameplay is much more complex when you start introducing just different mechanics in Magic. And I think counter Magic is one of those that can be incredibly difficult to balance in a cube, because, and I would say that the same will go for any interaction where you've got this wealth of options when it comes to the speed at which you can do it, from either if it's an instant or a sorcery, the mana value. That is a incredibly complex decision and an incredibly complex sort of journey that you have to go through, certainly as a curator, but as a player as well, because it's so impactful to the game. You do not want, similarly to the way that removal works, you don't want to promote, here's my big mana cube, but I've got 2 mana counter spells that just answer things too easily, right? So this is where I think, and I know that we've got show notes again to all of our listeners. Please go ahead and look at the show notes. I love the fact that in these notes, and as part of what you obviously understand is such an important element of counter Magic, is this separation of not everything has to be counterspell, not everything has to be so efficient. Sometimes you want to introduce the 3 and the 4 mana counter spells. Sometimes you want to introduce the lower costed ones, but they can only hit creatures. And I feel like from a design perspective, counters and those like really distinct and important pieces like that, like the removal and like the counter Magic, is maybe the most difficult thing to balance in order to ensure that the gameplay experience isn't negatively impacted by something that is so essential, in my opinion, for just the cube environment and Magic in general.
Let's go real quick, just kind of like what I said with Wrath, which is neat to me. You can have, like you said, counterspell. 2 blue, cancel target spell. That's neat. But I do like the interesting dichotomy of having something like Remove Soul and having Negate in the cube, right? And having that choice, that decision of which card should I be running, right? Am I canceling target non-creature spell, or am I canceling target creature spell? I do enjoy that little shakeup too. Instead of having And again, I run a lot of universal spells in my cubes, like counter spell. But I do like it when the player has the decision when they're drafting which one of these cards am I going to prioritize, which one am I going to put in my main deck. Granted, you see where I'm going with this, right, May? That's what I was kind of talking about with Wraths. I like it when they're less Swiss Army knife, more of I need to find the one that fits my scenario the best I can.
So I don't think I agree with the not picking ones that are Swiss Army knives. I actually more want to add texture onto what Stu was saying, because I really agree with how Stu was, let's say, blowing sunshine up the skirt of, forgive my verbiage there, but...
the bear with the antlers.
Right? But the whole advantage of counterspells is that they really show off skillful gameplay. And I prefer to see counterspells, like, as a drafter, that reward me for making like skillful choices in a game, right? Like, yes, just having generic counterspell is just going to be generically useful for everything, and knowing I have this one counterspell, what am I going to use it on, is just one of the many facets that makes it an interesting card. However, you can take it further within your environment. For example, one of my favorite counterspells in Cube is Censor. It's 1 and a blue for an instant, counter target spell unless its controller pays 1. It's not a very good counterspell. However, you use it early in the game to answer things, or you can cycle it to dig for more things. You actively have the choice of, am I using this like early in the game so that way I can prevent something? Am I holding this up so that way when you're trying to play your big expensive thing, I can shut it down? Or am I going to try to just cycle this so that way I can dig for an answer for other things? Or if I'm trying to dig for gas or other miscellaneous things, there's such a simple choice there, but that simple choice adds texture to the gameplay. And that's what I really love to see in people's environments, right?
No, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Like, miscalculation, same thing you said with Censor, right? For one colorless and a blue, you get to interrupt. That's what they called it at the time, which is fantastic.
Right.
But counter target spell, unless its caster pays an additional 2, but you can also cycle it for 2. Not only rewards your players, but it also creates like a feeling of, I feel smart. I made a good decision. I made an executive decision in this moment to 2 is no longer relevant. They have way too much mana. It's time to let it go. I'm going to push it out to the ocean like Wilson, let it float off. Wilson! But I don't need it anymore. I'm going to draw a new card. And I do like the texture of these type cards. You kind of jumped into something I want to talk about. I really like the idea of pays an additional cost type counter magic. I always have. Mana Leak is one of my favorite all-time cards. It's a real Gotham card. That's why I love Mana Tithe and Force Spike so much, because they get them. They get them for greedy plays. They get them for over... It creates these math-type counterspells, creates this interesting, I guess, counterplay that's happening where they're going, well, you look, you're holding up Mana Leak. You look, you're holding up Miscalc.
You on 3 steps ahead?
Yeah, I love it. I love these cards. Huge fan.
3 steps ahead, basically the cryptic command, but, less pip intensive, where we have a 1 mana instant.
You be careful now. Cryptic command is still amazing. All right, so.
But you can also pay 1, and you can also use this spree to pay additional costs, like you were saying. And you can pay 1 and a blue to just counter a spell. So you're basically paying for a cancel to just outright cancel something. Or you can pay 3 and a blue to create a token of copy target creature, or pay 2 to draw 2 cards, then draw a card. And you can pay for all of those incrementally. You can choose. You can pick and choose. Like, yes, it's a Swiss Army knife, but that texture of the timing there, the cost of it really just shines for its versatility. It's just, I love this card.
So good.
Okay, let me ask you another generic question, and this is for old designers and new designers. How do you feel about free counter magic in your environments? Just your visceral thoughts right now, May. Where do you land with the word free?
If you are doing powerful things, you need free counter magic. It's non-negotiable for powerful magic.
I know where Stu's at.
If you are not doing powerful magic, then it's just... How do I put it? The more fair your environment is, the more bad free counter magic starts to feel. That's my opinion on it.
I agree with you. That's why Force of Will, I argued when we first started this show, Force of Will is only as good as the threats that it's countering. Well, you can say that about anything. I know I said something stupid there, but
No. But that is not stupid. That is absolutely an important element of the decision-making process when it comes to what kind of magic you want to include in your cube. So no, I think that is important I think that's important to say.
Okay, well, Force of Will is a card that we said was scalable to everything. We said that when we first started this podcast. I know a lot of people don't really follow down that line, and I'm not encouraging because some people just want to feel like they can look across the table, count the mana, and know where they stand. I do like
Sometimes
the occasion.
It also just feels bad unless it's talked about in the pregame of, by the way, there are free spells in this environment.
That does fix this problem, right? You should know that. You don't want to get like, you don't want to go, you got no mana available. I feel safe to cast this, whatever. Where it gets different is where you start going to some of these cards. Force of Will, we're going to let that one go because it costs so much, sort of, kind of. But then we get into weird ones like Flare of Denial, or one of my favorites that I love. I think Stu killed me a long time ago. Pact of Negation.
I did. I played the land destruction deck.
Oh my god! I did Pact of Negation, which is a 0 counter target spell. At the beginning of your next upkeep, pay 3 colorless and blue. If you don't, you lose the game. So I did that. And Stu blew up my lands. Taught me a real lesson about Pact Negation. I hate that card so much. I took it out of my binder, threw it on the floor. But one of my favorites.
I have that memory.
One of my favorites kind of goes in that vein of the additional costs that I do enjoy very much. I love the Manitize, Force Spike, but I love Daze.
Daze is incredible.
Daze is an incredibly fun card. And I think that card actually scales really neatly, too. There's a lot of different arts you can use in different environments. Daze is
because Daze's cost is real. Bouncing a land is a real cost.
Yeah, so you can never... If you feel bad that they dazed you, well... Maybe you were sleeping and you were in a daze. I don't know.
I don't even consider that much of a cost. I'll be honest. I don't even consider it that much of a big deal. Return an Island.
I love Daze so much.
I think Daze is so good. Force of Will.
What's real spooky about it?
Go ahead.
You can bounce Mystic Sanctuary.
That's right.
That's true. That's true. He did do that. But
now they Mystic Sanctuary. Bring back the
they
days.
know you got it, so it's not that big of a deal. Force of Negation is one that's kind of on the edge, kind of cringe a little bit because I don't know. Is Force of Negation the same as Force of Will?
Force of Negation is not the same as Force of Will. No,
it's not,
but it's still bonkers. Yeah. It's still so strong.
Do you feel like it's as scalable as? I don't run it. I don't know why I don't run it. It's maybe the nostalgia bait of Force of Will is why I feel so.
I think it's nostalgia bait. I just don't agree that they're as scalable because they just feel really bad when the costs start becoming real, right? Like, once you're struggling for card advantage and you're basically holding this card in your hand, it's like, all right, I have a really expensive counterspell, or I have to get rid of one of the cards in my hand. I don't want to get rid of my cards in my hand. I'm already struggling. I'm already digging cards off the top, right? That situation happens, especially in lower powers. Versus in higher power Magic, it's just like, yes, I'm going to be trying to draw a bunch of cards. If I'm not drawing a bunch of cards, then usually something's already gone wrong, right?
I think the scalability more so, at least in my eyes, comes from the fact that if it's a lower power, ergo like a slower cube, then there is a real cost attached with losing a card from your hand, that you may not feel the effect of quite as much if you're playing like a combo deck where, you've got maybe a little bit higher chance that the cards are, maybe a little bit more disposable, right? And where also it's not outside the realm of possibility where just getting to 5 mana to hard cast a Force of Will isn't that much of a big deal. I want to actually, this is perfect that Anthony has this one up right now. This is another one of my absolute favorites, and I wouldn't even just call it a counterspell. So this is Mystic Confluence, 3 colorless, blue, instant, choose 3. You may choose the same mode more than once. You've got Mana Leak, return target creature to its owner's hand, or draw a card. So this is just a bonkers good card in any situation. You can draw yourself cards, you can counter spells, you can bump their creature back to their hand. The modality, the options, the choices and voices is just incredible. I love
it's expensive, but the thing it does is worth the cost.
Exactly. Yeah, agreed. And I think, again, this is even something that I would argue is to me a little bit more watch listable and a card that I would want to be a lot more careful of. And this is the one that came in putting the artifact cube.
This is
right?
the one I cut from the artifact cube. From the horror cube. It was mentioned at one of the previous cube cons, and the more I looked at it, they were right. The person who highlighted this card, I still challenge it. I still struggle with this one. It costs 5 mana. But it does change the game so much. I wonder if people would still view this card as powerful as they did 2 years ago versus where we're at now.
Yes.
Removing because the context of the card wasn't about the context of the cube. The context of the card was about its impact in vintage cube of the time. That's literally where this was being derived from. That created that kind of multiple people coming to me saying this card's too strong. It's in the vintage cube. Now,
I feel like that's a poor argument from someone if they just say this card shouldn't be in your cube because it's in the vintage cube. Like, not all cards are created equally. Not all cubes are created equally, right? And
that is what happened.
It's like, yeah, and so I disagree. I think that you can have a card in your low-powered cube that's also in a vintage cube. I mean,
except for Mom and Chris's peasant cube ever again, correct?
I think that if we were to look at Mystic Confluence and Mana Drain in the same pack, there is a clear disparity between power levels.
Correct.
Well, what I want to ask the listeners or have new designers kind of think about the idea of there is, a large array of counter magic that you can put in your cube. But I think I'm of the opinion, I'm the old dog here, that I lean more towards thematic design. I find it more interesting when I see something like Spell Stutter Sprite, that where I'm stuttering, Spell Stutter Sprite? Is that correct? It's a hard word to say. Can't say. Don't make me say that 3 times fast.
Now I'm doing it.
It's hard to do. It's not an easy word to say. I find that more interesting than just say like some regular cancel variant. Sometimes I find a Mystic Snake more interesting sometimes than
love a Mystic Snake.
These are fun magic cards, right? I like it when Mirror Shell Crab. I know I attach these to creatures over and over again, but sometimes they're a little bit more dynamic, a little bit more interesting for me personally as a drafter. And I think sprinkling some of those in kind of helps an environment like resonate a theme a little bit.
They can
a little cleaner.
They have to be viable, right? So Spell Stutter Sprite is, at least to me, not going to be as impactful in a cube unless you have a decent amount of fairy support. Like that's that's the thing that makes it so good, right?
It has a cost.
It has a cost. It has an opportunity about it that can be absolutely game breaking, but it could also be a bit of a nothing burger if it doesn't have the appropriate support. And the reason why,
as opposed to a much better card that has a condition like Stubborn Denial, where it's 1 mana instant counterspell. It does the counter non-creature spell unless an opponent pays 1 for it.
Yeah.
But it has Ferocious, that if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, you just get to counter it instead.
Yes.
Right? That is more generally applicable for a lot of environments. It's so easy to get a creature with power 4 or greater.
Yes, it is.
That condition is such a nothing burger.
And that condition, makes you feel...
my 3-drop happens to have 4 power. Anyways, I have a 1 mana counter spell.
Don't take it away from them, it makes them feel smart. Like, I played something that costs 4, now I get to cancel. They feel... It rewards a player. So sometimes choosing the magic to kind of form that idea... It's a little smoke and mirror. I know we're being a little dishonest to ourselves here, but doesn't it feel really good? Like, I've got a questing beast that's going to beat you to death, and I'm going to cancel that now.
My point was not to put down that card. My point was that card's more generally applicable than a spell.
Yeah.
Right.
And now, as we wrap this episode up, because everybody knows that counter magic can be a little painful to talk about. Let's just be honest. Can we all agree that Mana Tithe is the greatest counter magic ever made in Magic's history?
It's the one card, I think, that has probably caused more groans and more, oh my gosh, seriously?
So angry.
You had the Mana Tithe.
Tears.
I would say
I do have one final note that I do want to leave with before we fully wrap up.
Okay.
And it's that if you are trying to consider extra density of counterspells in your environment and you're trying to look for interesting things to do, look for cards like Supreme Will, where it's modal, it can let you draw a bunch of cards, and its floor is that it's like a bad cancel, right? Or look for cards like Reverse the Polarity if you're looking to do something really strong, where it's just, hey, creatures can't be blocked this turn. This is just a win con, or it's a counterspell, or any number of things, right? If you are looking for counterspells that do interesting things, maybe consider things like Muddle the Mixture, where that can be a tutor package. there are lots of interesting things that you can do with counter spells to make it feel like an active part of your deck beyond just this is the thing sitting in my hand till my opponent plays something stupid.
Also, make
Right.
sure you don't cancel Anthony because he can't describe a bear that quacks. And on that note, we're going to go to the socials.
I'm going to take lines you'll never hear anywhere else for 1,000.
I am not
please,
cutting that. I'm
Alex.
leaving it in.
Yeah, good. I'm glad. All right. As always, a big thanks to our Patreons, especially to old Sam and Preston for all the ongoing support.
Keeping the lights on.
Keeping the lights on. There's only one bulb, though, at this point.
Yeah,
I think, right?
we need more bulbs.
We need more bulbs. We could do with one. We're struggling to
Also,
read the cards.
by the time this episode comes out, we should be getting pretty close to the idea of Ravenfest in Sanford,
baby.
North Carolina, January 31st, 2026.
That's right.
Ubercube's going to have 5 cubes featured in their event. It's going to be, to the best of my knowledge, correct me if I'm wrong, 48 players, going to be 2 rounds, top 8, playing their powered vintage cube. It's going to be fun. All the proceeds go to, or most of the proceeds, I don't know, that's not but goes to charity. Supporting, the last time we did it, Ravenfest was fantastic. They did raffles.
Cool, really cool
Get
store.
to hang out with
Really
us,
cool
had
store.
breweries, barbecue. It was just a blast. It's about an hour from us, so
Yep.
had a great time. We're rolling up in
time.
there. We'll
Very
see you there
cool
on the
time.
31st, hopefully.
Yeah,
Tickets will be linked into the show notes.
Well, you will. I will be unfortunately unable. I am
Lame.
out of town. I know. I'm so sorry. Anyway, as always, you can find us. Hit us up on the socials. We're at Bluesky, Ubercube, MTG Podcast.bsky.social, or at Twitter at Ubercube MTG Pod. You can also go check out the episodes on YouTube, Ubercube MTG Podcast 747. As always, if you've got a longer question or comment about this episode or the show in general, or Anthony's, if you want to cancel Anthony, then reach out to us at ubercubemtgpodcast@gmail.com. And May's looking like
I'm canceling them right now.
you're giving
I'm
us ideas.
already putting a
Got
post on
ideas.
Bluesky.
There we go.
Put them on the list.
And as always, we're going to say what we always hear.
Since I'm overbear, I feel like I have to quack
yeah.
now.
Yeah, you have to say. We're going to say what we always say here. You ready?
Yep.
Counter
Quack.
target spell.
Happy
No.
cubing. Pyroblast. Manatide.
Manatithe. Do you pay the 1?
Nope.
All right. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.